going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another live stream for you tonight, with our customary movie review and topics of the day, as it were. Usually some news item or something culturally relevant. So you have all that to look forward to. Co-hosting as ever with me is the homeboy Rob.
Yo.
Usually we talk about our weekends, but half of the weekend I spent with you, so
we spent a lot of time together this week, and getting kind of prepped for some future movie reviews. One that I cannot wait to talk about this month. It's coming up. Awesome movie.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not, without spoiling too much. It's a movie that me and Robert both have come to love and appreciate a whole lot more, given the times that we're living in.
Oh, well, it's a comedy western, and it's
don't give away too much. Don't give away too much. Remember, don't give away too much.
But it was an inspiration for many films. I'll just say that.
Oh yes. I mean, if you watch it, and we totally, a kind of a spoiler, but we definitely do recommend this movie. But yeah, watch out for all the little Easter eggs, and you kind of see the influence of this movie in contemporary film.
And yes, we have the guts to review it.
Yes, we have the guts to review it. I guess there's nothing really to report.
Well, it was kind of, this weekend was kind of a little bit nice. The wife went to visit a friend in San Diego, so that left me, some time to myself, which was nice. I ended up watching I actually watched a bunch of movies. I watched a few with you. I watched a couple of the Death Wish movies with Charles Bronson, and those movies are ridiculous but awesome at the same time. Especially number 3. What else did I watch? Mainly, I've just been, in this past week, I had some days off, so I ended up just kind of relaxing, and I kind of cutting through some of the my backlog of classics that Santa Claus and others have been recommending to me. So got a bunch of those watched, like Guns of Navarone with Gregory Peck. I watched the I guess it's a remake, but I would say it's more of a sequel than a remake. Force 10 of Navarone with Harrison Ford. I watched What Lies Beneath. I watched A Bridge Over the River Kwai. So a bunch of little films like that. Just some of them were really long. Bridge Over the River Kwai is almost 3 hours, but it was really good with Sir Alec Guinness. And probably, I think that's so far my favorite role of his is Colonel Nicholson in Bridge Over the River Kwai.
He is in that movie. That's right.
Him and William Holden, who I'm really starting to really like. William Holden, he's great. He's so sarcastic. I really and sarcasm is my second language. So, and then I watched another William Holden film, Devil's Brigade, which is a little bit like The Dirty Dozen, kind of in that feel. Which it's a great movie, and I highly recommend all of those. Maybe we'll review them one day. I don't know, but we're never gonna run run out of movies. I'll guarantee that.
No, no, we don't. I mean, especially since I mean, from its inception, we did kind of do like what is it, like contemporary movies. But trying to see every new blockbuster that comes out, kind of gets tedious, and then also it gets expensive. But
And
there's a dearth of there's a wealth of movies that were made prior to the current age, and so why not revisit them?
was it um, there's one channel a movie channel that I watch on YouTube, Land UMC, and the show is called Chasing the Classics, and
Hmm.
it's like a little, and kind of the same thing. He kind of goes through some of like the history, but kind of like a short like little review of the film, but talks a
Hmm.
lot about like what went on behind the scenes. And funny story based off of the movie reviewed last week, The Professionals. Now, with you watching that movie, would you have the way that Burt Lancaster and Lee Marvin acted together? You would almost think that they were friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they hated each other, and they nearly killed each other during the production of that movie. That's professionalism right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Well,
nowadays you hear about like I don't know, like it was really big, and like like back when BuzzFeed was big with the listicles, and it's like, oh, the five actors who hate, who refuse to work with each other, and
yeah,
or something like that. It's just like just like having that like known. I mean, yeah, like maybe it was. I mean, I don't know, like because we weren't alive at the time, so maybe it was like the big gossip. One of like the big headlines in the gossip rags. But yeah, I mean, just going by their performance in the movie, it's like you wouldn't even, the thought wouldn't even occur to you that they hated each other.
no, and it's funny because Burt Lancaster is one of those, like, he was a very professional, always was like focused on studying his lines, make sure he had everything right. And then
Hmm.
you'd have Woody Strode and Lee Marvin would get sloshed nearly every night, and it's like, watch,
Yes.
I'm gonna, I mean, but he would show up on time to the set, like, and ready to go.
Right.
But he's like, I'm gonna
They're
fuck,
functioning sloshes.
yeah. And then like when he talked to like Woody, he's like, I'm gonna fuck up Bert on his line. So you watch this. And it's like and it got to the point where like the director thought, like, I think I'm forgetting the director's name at the moment, but he thought that one of the scenes, like where Burt Lancaster and Lee Marvin are on the cliff, like he's like,
Hmm.
he was afraid that Burt Lancaster was gonna throw him off the mountain. It was that
Oh, the
bad.
other way around, you mean?
No, Burt Lancaster was so
Oh, okay.
furious with Lee Marvin. Lee
Mm.
Marvin didn't care. Like, he was just kind of like, I'm here to do the job. Like, and he likes to fuck around.
Right. Well, he's the type of person like, well, I'm gonna do my job, but I'm gonna have fun, fun with it, while I'm doing it.
Oh yeah,
Type. It's so crazy because I mean, yeah, Lee Marvin has like the reputation of a slosh or whatever, but like I remember I watched a few interviews they did on back in the day on late night, and he seems like so like put together, and
I know. Yeah,
and he just comes off as someone who's like who he kind of seems like the working man's actor, like the blue collar kind of actor, not like those fruity Juilliard types where it's but
oh no, this guy put in a lot of work, and yeah, which is why I put him on my list. Why I respect him so much, because yeah, kind of his life was not like very easy. It was kind of a mess. He was a war hero,
uh-huh.
and he's not like, he didn't just get like stuff thrown at him. Like, he worked. He was in television for a long time, and like did a lot of like bit parts on TV. Then he got like did a bunch of stuff for Twilight Zone, and then he
Mm.
even got his own TV series, which I really want to watch, M Squad, which is a detective show from like the '60s. he's the star, and it's like wow,
Uh,
it sounds
hmm.
really interesting to be
I,
honest.
I wonder if that's like a precursor to like the Mod Squad.
It probably it might be, yeah.
Just going by the names, like, because it was like M Squads, like, just a few letters, missing to make it into Mod Squad. So, oh, and just
Yeah,
for that anyone listening now, or the playback, I'm sorry that I cracked my neck. Because you probably heard, you really probably heard it, because I'm wearing a lavalier mic, and it's like right next to my neck, and then I cracked it, and then I saw the EQ meter, and it spiked. I was like, whoops.
Andy's getting ready to fight me. Like he's getting ready to throw me off a mountain.
Yeah. You unprofessional son of a bitch.
Yeah. But no, I was cause I was it was funny because I watched this video this past week after we did the review of the professionals. I was like, God damn, I would have never known that those two hated each other during the film. They were so pissed off with one another. Because like I said, it's just so I would have thought that they were best friends.
Right. Yeah, their chemistry and like their rapport was so natural, and and they really played well off each other, and so like yeah, you really wouldn't believe that maybe more on Burt Lancaster's side, but like because I mean like the energy that I get from Lee Marvin is like he's not mean for being mean's sake. It's like he just has like a really twisted sense of humor.
Yeah, to me, he's
And
someone I would have a lot of fun like hanging around with.
right, yeah, he's the guy that you want to go and have drinks with, and who'll have your back in a bar fight.
Yeah.
That's the kind of vibe that I get from Lee Marvin.
But yeah, it's yeah, because I was actually watching some interviews with him too, talking about like some of his like roles that he like really enjoyed playing, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he seems like a real like yeah, he has like a twisted sense of humor, but he seems like a good guy at least. Um, and that would be a guy like yeah, I kind of wish was still kind of alive today because it would be fun
Mm-hmm.
like being able to talk to that guy.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. I'm
there's
sure. Yeah, yeah. If we ever got to that point, where we could pull in like that kind of caliber, dude, he'd definitely be a jerk.
oh yeah, I would.
Yeah, we would definitely confer onto him honorary jerk status.
Oh, absolutely. But anyways, that was kind of my week. Nothing very exciting, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Just got a chance to get some relaxing in, which is always nice.
Uh-huh.
And needed to recuperate. Joyce wasn't feeling all that great this week, so was taking care of her. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
and got a lot of opportunity to just kind of relax and enjoy some great movies.
Mm. Nice. Yeah, my weekend, it wasn't nothing really special. What was it? I mostly had it to myself. Didn't really go anywhere. Didn't really do anything. Um, the only big thing that happened to me was yesterday. I got hosed at the dealership because I took my car in to get some service. Um, because like I just took it to get a oil change because I'm due at a freed one, and I didn't utilize it pre-pandemic, and luck because now Ford is doing like the points thing. And so like when I bought my car, they gave me a whole bunch because they basically give you like a point for like 10 points for every dollar that you spend. So like when I bought my car, I used a whole lot of dollars. So I had a lot of points, and so but kind of like uh, anything, it doesn't really add, like a lot of points, like credit card points or whatever, it doesn't really add up to much. And so but the amount I had, I could have at least gotten 3 to 4 free oil changes. Um, but also I have an issue with my one of my tires. It's just constantly losing pressure. And what is it? I visually inspected it myself, and then I did some other diagnostic techniques to determine if there was a hole, and I just couldn't see it. And so I took it in to get it repaired, and they did find a hole, but it was, at least they say that it was on the wall of the tire and not
Oh,
the tread. And so
oh,
so there's no really like patching that. So I had to get the tire replaced. And so that took a big chunk of change out of my wallet. Well, not as much, because I was able to I had to basically use all of my points, my reward points,
oh man.
to cover the oil change, and also the portion of what it would cost to replace the tire.
Did you just replace the one, or was it like did you have to get like at least two?
No, it was just they just replaced the one.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, in that instance, it was kind of thank God for small blessings. Uh, but still, like if I was gonna pay for it out of pocket, it would have been like $300 to replace that one tire. But luckily, I had the points, and so yeah, like slash that price greatly.
If you ever need
Um,
tires next, when let me know, because I got a good place for you to go where they have really great prices on tires.
okay.
Where yeah, it's I go there. I've gone there every time I've needed tires. I
Uh huh.
just got like new tires for my wife's car.
Uh huh.
My parents, my dad goes there. Like you'll get a great deal. So let me know next
Okay.
if you whenever you need tires, you let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I might actually want to get like replace my tires, because not that they're. I mean, I don't know, but I might want to get like a more substantial tire, because it's right now like it's. I mean, it says that it's all terrain, but it's like it's basically a street tire. And
Okay,
and
yeah,
with my
I'll
car, I kind of might want more of a substantive tire to put on my car.
okay, yeah, uh I'll put you like I'll put you in a chat with you, me, and my dad, and like he'll have more information than I will, but like he
Hmm.
knows a great place. You give him like kind of the your tire size, like what you're looking
Hmm.
for, and he'll find something for you that should help out.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah,
You
because I
won't be
mean
spending like $1 billion either.
that would be wonderful. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, normally I would have just taken their, I would have just said like, oh no, forget it. I'll, just do the oil change, and I'll take care of the tire later. Um, but my parents are gonna go camping, and they're gonna take my car, so I don't want that. I don't want like any sort of uh, issue to
Yeah.
happen or whatever. So it's like just take care of it now, and then like later down the line, I'll look into maybe getting some different tires. But
Well, that's well, you had to replace the tire, but at least you figure out what the problem was, and then got the oil
yeah, because I
changed.
yeah because I was really hoping it was just like a faulty a sensor thing, because like all modern cars have like the pressure sensors, and I was just really hoping
Yeah,
that
like mine,
it was just
mine.
that one that was like just that one tire that was messed up. But nope.
Yeah,
Especially
because
since
my
like
tire
yeah.
pressure sensor was bad.
Yeah, because I was really hoping that it was just a sensor, but then also it's like my tire was losing pressure, so I was like, or like at least I was hoping that it was just like a really tiny like slit like within like the tread, so then I could just like fix it myself. But or like it would have been a really quick fix, and I wouldn't have to replace the entire tire.
Yeah.
But It is what it is. The issue's been resolved, and so
C'est la vie.
c'est la vie. Yeah, of course, my dad was none too pleased. He was like, it's like that's why I hate going to the dealer. They always try to screw you over. It's like you're not wrong, but I mean, you're not. I mean, my dad is not wrong in that matter.
Yeah.
But it got handled. Luckily, luckily, I had the points, so it didn't take a huge, it took a bite, but it didn't take a huge bite out of my wallet. So, what
All
more
right.
could you
Well,
ask for?
but well, should we get on to our news topics?
Yeah, let's get into it. Why don't you start?
You want me to start? Okay.
Yeah, you start.
Well, so if our viewers remember last year, obviously, I was kind of up in arms, like when it came to some of the, everyone knows I'm a big sports guy. For a while, I kind of watched a lot of everything. And then, as I've gotten busier, gotten older, I've kind of pared down, and it was mainly baseball and auto racing. That was what I kind of focused in on. Especially NASCAR. That's been my favorite sport for as long as I can remember. I've been a fan since 1989, so long time ago, and it's one of the for a time it was one of the few sports that had eschewed some of the wokeism that has been infiltrating sports. But last year, wokeism reared its ugly head. A lot of, especially with like the official social media platforms that NASCAR uses. There was things that were there that I didn't like, and I'm not necessarily talking about like it's the Confederate flag, banning those at the racetrack. You know, it's like I I didn't really care too much about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever. But then it's like, oh, we need to celebrate Pride Month, and we need to do this, and then there was the whole Bubba Wallace thing where he still has yet to, like, thank the FBI agents and like thank that that they found that there was actually nothing that happened. That he didn't like say like, hey, I'm so thankful that like my fellow drivers stood up for me and like had my back. And I'm really happy that like nothing really came of it. This is great news. NASCAR is a great place to be. No, none of that ever came about. And to me, as all these damn like race hoax things, um, it's it came to nothing. And then to me, it was just him. He was in a contract year. I think was looking for a better ride, and this gave him a lot of notoriety. I don't think he didn't create the situation himself. It was kind of like any leftist would do is just like don't let
Right.
any
He wasn't a juicy Smollier, literally
no not
concocting a situation. I just think, yeah, I think he was, he saw an opportunity, and he lived up to that, that quote from Rahm Emanuel, the former mayor of Chicago. Was like, never let a good crisis go to waste.
bingo. That was kind of like, and yeah, now he's with he's driving for Michael Jordan and another great driver, Denny Hamlin, at 2311 Racing. Although he has been not, I don't think it's necessarily his fault. Usually first year teams don't do like all that great. He's been mediocre at best. But I don't really think that that's because of his driving ability. But who
Mm-hmm.
knows? Anyways, all that stuff kind of pissed me off last year, and I stopped actually watching races because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of kept up with as far as like news on the sport, like what was going on, and I actually started to like what I towards the end of the year, during the off season, and at the beginning of the year, I was actually very excited with what had been going on because it felt like, okay, NASCAR is wanting to kind of go back to basics, and they're trying to bring back some of these like um, older tracks that have been part of NASCAR's legacy forever, like Nashville, the Nashville Fairgrounds, North Wilkesboro, which is a short track that was it was one of the tracks on the original schedule that has been that they took off in 1996, and they're trying to resurrect. They're trying to bring that track back, and
Mm-hmm.
there's been a lot of movement for that. There's been more focus on trying to revamp the schedule, make things like more exciting for fans. So I was like, okay, yeah, hey, I'm all for it. Like, let's try to get like more fans in the stands, kind of stuff like that. And obviously, like with fans not being able to do anything last year, this year, like when fans have been able to go at like whatever capacity, it's been selling out, to the capacity that they wanted. And I think the first race that was full capacity was the Coca-Cola 600, which is the Memorial Day race, and
Mm-hmm.
it was good to see the stands packed. It was good. It was
Yeah.
really, I was very encouraged by that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, good. NASCAR's moving in a great direction. I'm very happy, and we're getting away from like a lot of this other stuff that doesn't matter. Because when it comes to NASCAR, what I always enjoyed about it was, yeah, we do have, it's by not by design, but it just kind of happened that way. Is that we actually have a pretty diverse group of people, and it's not about like, oh, we're just giving this person a position. No, everyone who's in the sport has earned their way there,
Mm-hmm.
either because they have the funding, they've won multiple championships in other divisions, they for a variety of reasons, they've earned their way to that spot. Whether it's the pit crew, the driver, what have you. But now, something that really like pissed me off again is obviously we had the George Floyd memorial that was going on. What was that, like last month or late last month? And of NASCAR's official social media, um, their social media for Twitter, Instagram, what have you. It's like, well, we uh, we want to acknowledge the horrible death of George Floyd. It's the 1 year anniversary, and we want to we the NASCAR Foundation, we're donating such and such amount of money and all this other stuff. I'm like, why? And it's like, okay, we've talked about the case with George Chauvin. We've talked about all that stuff, and you know what? Yeah, I'm not saying that like I am a fan of George Chauvin. I don't know anything about him. Uh, First of all, they never proved racism in that court case. There was
Right.
not
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
iota of
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah. Just real quick correction. Derek Chauvin.
Oh no, it's with Derek. Say what you
Yeah.
will
But yeah,
about
that was
that
like
whole
that was
thing.
like one of the that was like one of those. Yeah, they didn't prove any. They didn't prove like what was in his heart. They just they were arguing the policy was a right for the Minneapolis police department to prescribe like what is it, kneeling on someone's neck, even though in the trial they proved that he wasn't even kneeling on his neck.
Yeah, and yeah,
But yes,
exactly, and
we
not
digress.
for that whole time. And so but anyway, okay, fine. It's bad police policy. I'm not even like saying that George Chauvin is a saint himself and like is isn't. Yeah. None of that. I don't really care. But the thing is, we do know about George Floyd and that he is a garbage human being. He's pretty much always been a garbage human being, and but yet we have made him into this. They were even saying it's like, oh, this sacrificial lamb. Like the way that they've talked about him in the media and some of the politicians. It's like the way that Nancy Pelosi addressed him is like, oh, thank you, George Floyd, for dying for us, for justice. It's like, what? It's like they're making him to the Jesus figure. It's like, who I think would be like horrified, that is no one talks about, that's obviously horrified by everything that happened with that, is the woman that like had a gun held to her while while her and her kid were robbed by George Floyd and his cronies.
Well, yeah,
No one talks
let's,
about that.
yeah, like at the time, like that woman was pregnant, and George Floyd pointed the gun at the womb, at that woman's womb, with the potential life in it. Let's get her hot take on what's going down. And
I
again,
guarantee
that's
she's not.
and again, yeah, I guarantee she's not a fan. And again, we're not saying that he deserved to die in the manner that he died. We're just saying, why is it that that the media and politicians, they're lifting up this person with not a stellar background, without a stellar history, and immediately immediately a preceding his death, there was a media blitz to cast them as like this person. He has like, yeah, he had he didn't always lead the most moral life, but he was trying to turn his life around, and he was trying to do good for the community. And they play, I don't know, people forget, but they played like this video that he did where talking about like turning his life around and trying to do good for the community. But then it came out that he had like a crazy amount of drugs in his system. And then the security footage from that convenience store came out, and you can see him, he was tripping balls. Like he was very wobbly, and he was very kind of like the laughing idiot thing going on. He was tripping balls.
Yeah.
And I mean, that doesn't look like someone who's trying to turn their life around. But and then again, like they're it's like the John Dillinger thing, where they're trying to make him out to be like this folk hero. It's like John Dillinger was a piece of shit. All right, let's just full stop. He's like, John Dillinger was a piece of shit. He was a
Yeah.
murderer. He's a bank robber. And what did the media do? They turned him into a folk hero. Like John Dillinger wasn't, John Dillinger wasn't a Robin Hood. He wasn't stealing from banks and then giving it to the poor. He was stealing it for himself.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Bonnie and Clyde too. But the whole point is that the fact that like you have all these people that are like lauding this guy as the sainted George Floyd who died at the hands of the evil police force, and the fact that the official page of my sport is that I love is just saying like, oh, we're acknowledging that it's like the horrible events that happened with George Floyd, and we stand in solidarity, blah blah blah. It's like, what, we were going in a good direction, guys. Like, what, why? And yeah, I think that was just I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's why I've checked out of basketball, because they're garbage takes, like in their constant kowtowing to China. I mean, like the GM of the Houston Rockets, like yeah, he posted a tweet in solidarity with the protesters in Hong Kong, and what do? They fire his ass.
Yeah.
What is it? And LeBron, he puts out a what is it? It's not exactly related, but it wasn't George Floyd, but it was like some other black guy that died in police custody or whatever. It was no. He
I
put
can
out
never.
some, yeah, he was talking, yeah, it was some other black person who died supposedly in police custody, and he put out a tweet saying, "Oh, like injustice anywhere is justice nowhere or whatever." Uh,
Right.
but he doesn't throw his support behind the citizens of Hong Kong, who are actually fighting for justice, who are actually trying to fight for freedom. But what is it? He has it's a quote. It was like on the news where he's talking about like, oh, I think it's dangerous, physically, spiritually, financially. It's like, yeah, financially for you, because you can't say, you can't talk bad about China because they're the one giving, they're the one, lining your pockets.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
and I mean, and LeBron has become the face of the NBA, which I think is just tragic, because it's such a fucking retard.
You can almost have. There's a great baseline question especially when it comes to sports like the NBA players or whatever. But even like just anybody, you can kind of tell where they're at. Just say, is Taiwan a country? Are they a country? And if they can't give you a definite like, well, yeah, duh. It's like, and they kind of ham and haw, and they pull a LeBron. It's like, well, it's a complicated situation. It's like where they stand because they stand with the CCP. Because
Yeah, I mean, I still remember that. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else does, but I still remember that clip where um, there's like this, I don't know, let's say generally Asian reporter talking to that guy from the World Health Organization, and she was asking him like, oh, why didn't you include the number, the figure, during the coronavirus. He's like, why didn't you include the Taiwanese numbers when calculating? It's like, and then
he just like,
he no, but then at first he said like, oh yeah, we did include the Chinese numbers, and then like the reporter pushed back on him. It's like, oh, like oh, no, but Taiwan. And then he acted like he was having his like connection because it was via Skype or whatever, and it's like,
yeah,
he was actually pretending like it was like glitching. It's like, what was that? And then and then again when he tried to press and then he tried to like move the conversation along, but the reporter came back to it, and then he straight up said like, oh, I already answered that question about China. And it's like,
yeah, and then he hung up on
yeah,
her.
yeah, exactly. And they hung up on her. So yeah, I mean, like, it's like that. It's the old saying, like, you know who the enemy is if you know, like, what is it, like, you know who the enemy is if it's the one that you can't criticize. Oh, no,
Yeah.
it's the one who's in power. It's like, who's in control is the one you can't criticize.
Well, and I should have known something too, like because when it comes to baseball, another sport that I love, because for the baseball got taken out of the Olympics, I think around like 2000. A long time ago. I think it's coming back, but like there was a time where baseball was taken off the Olympic sports, Summer
Mm-hmm.
Olympic sports, and so Major League Baseball put on their own international baseball tournament, a la
Mm-hmm.
the Olympics, and which is great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot of great baseball being played, and it gave you an opportunity to watch a lot of players you would never get a chance to see because they play in like Japan or Korea or wherever. And uh, but one thing that I noticed, it was like there was one team in the Asian group, Chinese Taipei. What the fuck is Chinese Taipei? Oh, that's Taiwan. They will not call the country Taiwan
Right.
because
It's yeah.
they wanted like,
It's verboten. It's the same thing with like Voldemort in Harry Potter. It's like, oh, he who shall not be named. It's like, yeah, they will not speak the name Taiwan
yeah.
out loud.
Well, and come to find out, it's because MLB actually they've been doing a lot of stuff in China. They've put in some baseball academies,
Mm-hmm.
and they funneled a lot of money over to China. I don't know if they're recouping any of that
Wait,
benefit, but
the MLB did? Are you sure? Or they're getting a payoff?
so it's not like for nothing. They're set, like I said, they're trying to set up a baseball, like a Chinese baseball league.
Mm-hmm.
All like Japan, Korea, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a way to like possibly bring have another channel of maybe bringing over like baseball players and stuff from
Right. Yeah, from
just
China. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
way to scout talent. But
Yeah.
they funneled a lot of money into China, and I
Okay.
think that it's through this, so they have a lot of like personnel, a lot of former major leaguers that have like worked over in China to make this effort happen, and so it makes sense that but to do that, because it is a very Western thing, and I
Mm-hmm.
think to probably get that done, they probably had to make a few sacrifices. So, so when MLB throws this international tournament that China is in, they like, oh well, you can't call it Taiwan, so we'll call it Chinese Taipei.
Yeah. Although it's funny though because I mean, for those of you who don't know, like the whole, well, I mean, I don't know the whole thing, but I know this much is true. But uh, the people that started Taiwan are actually the legitimate government of the former government of mainland China. So
Yeah, what
that
it used to be.
yeah, it's like so they're like the legitimately like voted in politicians, representatives, or what have you, of the former before the Communist Party took over. Uh, so they are so technically they're the legitimate government, and really technically Taiwan is China, and China is a part of basic kind of like the imposter government, like what the Communist Party that runs China now is kind of like the imposter China.
Yeah, this actually might be an interesting discussion for another like potential future episode. Because I have
Mm-hmm.
actually one of my friends who is pretty conservative. He's Taiwanese, and it's like he knows kind of like a lot of what's going on over there, and like a lot of the
Right. Well,
politics.
yeah. Well, are we talking about the same person? Do I know
Maybe
this one?
I
Do
don't
I
know
know
if
him? Because I think
you may have met
because I
him, or
know
if you
I know one Taiwanese person. So I'm wondering if we're
uh,
thinking about this, or we're talking about the same person.
if that's the case, that would be the
Is it a
funniest thing.
guy?
Huh?
Is it a guy?
It is a guy.
Okay. Is he getting married soon?
I haven't talked to him in a while, so I don't know.
Okay. Because the person I'm thinking about is. Oh no! Wait. We actually no. If the person I'm thinking about is, we had him on the podcast before.
Oh no, then it's a different person. I'm thinking of somebody different then.
Okay. Okay. Different
But
person then. Okay.
the other guy that I know who you're talking about, like that would also be
Yeah,
good
Albert.
to have him back on about that issue.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's very knowledgeable. I mean, when we talk, like it's I don't know, for some reason it always shifts to East Asian politics, and he always kind of lets me know what's going on about what's going on between Taiwan and China, because his family's from or lives in Taiwan.
Yeah,
So
to be honest, I would like to do an episode on that because I would love to know more about like what's. I can't say that I know a lot.
yeah, I mean, I know that there's between like U.S. and Taiwanese relations aren't like the best because they're like the whole who's that political leader like Chung King, or there was like an incident where like he wanted like the leader wanted the Taiwanese leader wanted to like get arms, and The U.S. sold them some, but they were like really bad, like they were like old and obsolete weapons, and
Yeah,
so
yeah. Dude, what the fuck?
yeah. um, but yeah, it's it's really it's a really sad state of affairs when um, American sports uh, are turning their backs on their country of origin, and the core audience that helped make it popular. I mean, it's in your case NASCAR, which is predominantly white Americans. Um, I don't know, like I don't know how they got it in their heads that they all of a sudden have to like hate their primary demographic to try and lure in new audience. It doesn't make sense. It
Well, they're
fundamentally
catering
and
to an audience that already hates them, will never
right,
become a fan,
exactly.
and yeah, and it just
It
I
defies
don't get
logic.
it.
It defies logic. You
And
know.
for me, I'm like, and I'm as diehard as they get. Like, and there's been a lot of stuff as far as like some of the changes in the points format, changes in the car, changes in like a lot of things where I'm like, well, if this is going to make people like more excited to watch the sport and it helps it grow, I'm all for it. But it feels like the sport has left me behind because
Right, and then yeah, but then there's
there's a
also
lot
you
that
get
happen.
the accusation of like gatekeeping um thrown around. It's like, oh well, you're just kind of gatekeep and like keep the the blacks or the browns or whatever out
No, I'm
because you're
not.
racist. But it's like no, but like I was here first, all right. But there there is legitimacy to saying like I was here first. I know this sport. I grew up with this sport. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Um, so you know where I'm coming from. But instead you're instantly slapped with the moniker of istophobe and being closed-minded or whatever. Um, but I
Yeah,
genuinely think that the argument is like, well, I was here first. It is valid.
yeah. I mean, the one thing that is great that I can do, NASCAR does have a lot of, I can always go back to the old races, the stuff that I enjoyed. And I think the time that I enjoyed sports the most, the late '80s, through the '90s and the early 2000s, was some of the in all. To be honest, in all sports, like that was
Hmm.
like the greatest time for sports. And you know what? And thankfully, like NASCAR has a lot of their old races that you can find on YouTube that people have uploaded and whatnot. And so I can always go back and enjoy those races, which is that I had fun. I can relive the old rivalries. And yeah, and that's probably what I'm gonna do. Just kind of relive the old days
Hmm.
because right now, like the old days are better than the new.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of like one of the benefits of YouTube is that um, you can share all the like the highlights. I mean, that's I'm sure if you typed in like NBA highlights and NFL highlights, MLB highlights, you'll be able to find them, and so you could definitely relive like the best moments in any particular sport. Um, thanks to this wonderful technology that we have, but
Yeah,
you know. It's kind of sad that to think that we won't have any of like these great moments in sports anymore because you know um, sports is no longer about excellence. Uh, it's not about pitting yourself pitting yourself against a competent rival, and building each other up, because what is it? You're only as good as that your next opponent.
Yeah.
And
Well, and a
so
lot of times, like, I feel like there's so many like extra like gimmicks and things that people want to throw in. It's like if you don't like the thing is if you need all those like extra gimmicks and whatnot to enjoy the sport, like the thing is you don't enjoy the sport.
mhm.
And I'm not saying that like stadiums and whatnot shouldn't have good amenities. Like the seats should be comfortable. There should be good food, stuff like that. I'm not
Reasonably
saying that
priced food.
that stuff isn't important or that like there's some other like entertainment like before and after like the match. But if you need that stuff during the game, let me tell you, you don't enjoy the sport. Like what's the point? Just find something you enjoy. Don't ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. That reminds me of something that Adam Carolla said is kind of on the same lines, but what you just stated is, well, he said is just don't make it worse for anybody else. Um, and he cites, the kind of all the regulations at like the beach. Because
Yeah,
Adam Carolla remembers a time when you could have taken a 6-pack of beer and glass bottles particularly, and you can go to the beach and enjoy yourself, but someone messed it up for everyone else, and they left the bottle, and it broke, and then someone came along and they stepped on it and they cut their foot, and so now it's like, oh, like, no beer allowed at the beach, or no. Well, I know I'm kind of screwing up because like someone got drunk, went for a swim and died. So it's like no beer, and then it's like no glass bottles, and then no this and no that, and no, and then and he said, like, have you ever noticed like the signs at the beach where it says what you can't do? It's like, and how crazy, like, it's like kind of like the Rosetta Stone, for the beach. It's just like, it's like there's never a time when like they take something off. It's always like they're adding on. And so, yeah,
yeah,
don't be that guy, or don't be that person that that forces the government to tack on another thing that you can't do at the beach.
yeah. And it's just I do really want to go to like to watch like a baseball game. I do want to go like watch a NASCAR race. I'd love to go watch my Buffalo Bills play at some point. I'd love to go
But they
see
suck.
a basketball. Well, my Bills do not suck. Not now.
Yeah,
They're good
I
now.
know. Last year they did admirably. I know. I
Close
know.
to the
Last
Super
year,
Bowl.
they almost pulled it out. I know. Last year they almost pulled it out. I know. I get it.
Yeah, my Bills are coming. And, actually, to be honest, and I didn't know this, but they're actually owned by an Asian woman.
Really?
And she's fairly attractive, too. I was like, wow, okay.
Okay. That's
For an
that's
older,
uh,
for an
that's pretty
older lady.
surprising.
Yeah, I was because I know because the owner before he that the stadium is named after is the original owner from like
Uh huh.
1960 when the AFL like became a thing.
Uh huh.
Um, and he just recently died, like probably about like 4 or 5 years ago.
Uh huh.
And there was a kind of a clamor of like who was gonna buy the Bills, were they gonna move from Buffalo, all this stuff,
Mhm.
and then they finally got sold. I think like Bon Jovi was actually gonna try to like buy the Bills and like move them to like Toronto or something. Thank God that didn't happen.
Really?
Uh, yeah, and then I
Yeah.
don't remember who ended up
I would
buying
think
them,
they
and
would out have thought that he would try to bring him to New Jersey, although New Jersey has a team.
yeah, well well, that's right. We're the only real New York team, so
Right.
let's
Yeah.
just set that for the record. Um, but no, I the team ended up getting sold, and I was like, I didn't remember who ended up buying the team, but they kept him in Buffalo, so I was happy. Because God knows that, because they also own the Sabres too, the hockey team. And I was like, and I never remembered who bought it, and it turned out it was some Asian lady. I was like, what? Okay.
Wow, that is surprising.
Korean. I think she's Korean.
That is surprising. Okay, I'll look it up real fast.
I think many Koreans that would want to live in Buffalo, for fuck's sake.
But, so there's some dude named Terrence Pegula.
Oh, then it's like him and his wife.
Oh, Kim Pegula?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As a South Korean-born American businesswoman, along Okay, so yeah. I'm trying to see what she's known for.
She like owns something or something or other. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to look that up right now. Okay, yeah. Doesn't really say. Anyways.
But yeah, so it's I'm glad the Bills are doing good. That's something. But I think football started to finally get away.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's pretty attractive.
For an older Korean lady, not too bad.
Yeah. I think she was like adopted. Not to this dude, but yeah.
There was this former catcher for the Anaheim Angels. His name was Hank Conger, but he was a Korean, full Korean, but like he was adopted. So
right.
He had like very odd name. I wish he had done better. Like I think like he just didn't quite make it to. He made it to the major leagues, but he just wasn't quite good enough to stay in the major leagues. But he was too good for the minor leagues.
Right. It's kind of like I forget. I know, so bad. It doesn't matter. It's kind of like that one Korean football player who was on the Chargers. When they first came to LA. Yeah, he was on there for a little bit, but then I think he might have been on special teams and like was a kicker. But yeah, he got cut like a season or two afterwards. I mean, it's pretty. Yeah,
it's really hard.
Yeah, it really is.
That's pretty much all I had to say. I'm so frustrated as a sports fan because I really want to just enjoy my sport without being lectured or having some sort of dumb like woke crap that's infecting the sport as far as like changing rules, and we have to do this and we have to include that, and it's like I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I just want to especially now with like the whole Pride Month going on. You have baseball, like everyone's got like the rainbow stuff going on. It's like I don't want rainbow stuff on the uniform. Just keep the uniform. It's fine. It's a classic uniform. Just stop putting like little stupid logos on the.
Yeah,
on
stop making everything gay.
Well, it's even like when any sort of like any sort of like special day or this or that. It's like oh we gotta have these special doodads on the uniform. It's like no, stop it. Like just let's just watch the game. It doesn't matter. Like I don't.
I don't know,
The
but I
uniform was
think I think
ugly.
that particular spell is like starting to be broken because like now I don't know, like all over social media, there's like all these posts, kind of mocking the companies that do that go that switch their logos and whatever for Pride Month and Pride Month alone. Um,
Oh God,
and
it's
so yeah, I think yeah, and I
it's
think yeah, so
worse.
I think that particular spell is starting to lose its potency. Particularly,
I
I
hate it.
remember just before coming on, I remember I saw the Star Trek meme. It's I know this is going to be really this is going to be really uh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's only going to mean something to me, basically. But there's this episode from the least probably the least popular franchise in Star Trek, which is Voyager. Um,
Still pretty good though.
yeah, Voyager has its moments, but there was this episode where they decide to design a holodeck program for like R&R,
Hmm.
tropical theme, hula girls, that kind of stuff. And then two of the characters walk into the holodeck, and one of the characters in the program asks them, are they friends? And one being a Vulcan, he's completely emotionless. He answers no, and the other character answers yes. And so someone took that and put like the LGBT community, and then and Fortune 500 companies. So it's like, oh, are you friends? And the Fortune 500 company says yes, but the LGBT community says no. So so uh,
It's so true.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they hate these people, but then they demand that you have to throw up the rainbow flag and take a dick up in the ass or whatever, and it's just and they still are gonna hate your product. So stop it.
They're not gonna buy your product, because like like we'll definitely attract more gay people, um, if we what is it, pander to them, what is it, grooming, grooming company recently put out a thing where they said like groom with pride.
Oh
It's just like
God.
kind of kind of like most, but also like kind of like most unaware pandering you can imagine, because it's like for the longest time there was like this association with child molesters with with the gays, and they the rhetoric or the talking point was like, oh well, they're gonna groom your kids to be gay. And it's like,
That is happening.
that is happening. Don't get me wrong, that is happening. And it sucks for all the non pedo gays, but it is what it is. But anyways, yeah. So they
They're
put
gonna
out
throw
this
that
app.
P in. They're gonna throw that P right into the LGBTQ plus
Right. They already
thing.
they tried. It didn't take, but they're gonna try again. Um, but yeah, like groom with pride. It's like,
Give it 5 years, Andy. Give it 5 years.
yeah, fine, dude. I'm gonna say three. I'm gonna say three.
All right. If you're
But
right,
anyways,
I owe you a steak. If I'm right, you owe me
yeah.
a
Okay, yeah. We'll see. All right, 3 years time, starting now. Anyway,
bag.
but
Wow, we are betting on something very dark right now.
I know, seriously. Oh my God, are we awful human beings?
Well, if we're both wrong, then I'm very happy. I think that's a good thing.
Yes, of course. We're not. We're okay. Yeah, we're not hoping that this happens. We're
We're banking on the evidence that's available to us.
exactly. We hope that society becomes morally sound. um, in the next 3 to 5 years. That's what we're really hoping on. All right, because I'm not hoping that I win. That's ridiculous. But but it already but we already saw, like, they already put out feelers, with like the TED Talks, and the what is it, the Slate articles, or like,
I mean, as mainstream as they can get.
yeah, exactly. I mean, at the time, yeah, I mean, TED Talks were like the biggest thing, you know, uh, like 5 years ago. I think at 5 years ago, their TED Talks were at their peak. Now, like, no one really cares about TED Talks. But
I
yeah,
think
they
that was,
tried it.
to me, that was the one where it's like, because some of them were like, okay, they're not it kind of interesting, but then like that one, I was like, okay, that's it, that's it.
Yeah, like the girl, like, advocating is like, oh, like, I know this guy named Simon, and he's a pedophile, but he didn't, but he hasn't touched any of them. It's like, so that makes him good. It's like, what? And I mean, that's kind of like similar thing with like the Slate article. I'm sure which they memory hold, but basically it's like, yeah, it's like, they profiled this guy. It's like, oh, yeah, what is it? Oh yeah, and like the acronyms too, like MAPS, like minor attracted persons. Oh
Oh my god, I wanted to vomit.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you saw that what they did on Blue's Clues recently, right?
No, but let me guess. They had a drag queen on.
Oh yeah, yeah, they did. They had this whole like song that was of this drag queen that this drag queen was singing this song about like um, all the different like quote unquote genders and like sexual preferences, and like how we need to celebrate the pride of it all, and it's really fucking disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, if and or when I have kids, I will not let them watch Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or.
I'm not letting them watch anything like that post 2000. It's just like
Yeah, yeah. I
you
mean,
know the
yeah.
stuff
For
that
my
I
kids,
watch.
it'll be nothing. It'll be nothing but Little House on the Prairie. That's it.
Dude, I've never even watched
It's a
that.
good show. Back when America still had morals. Um, it's a good show.
uh, my kids will not watch anything that like that I didn't watch as a kid. I grew up okay.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Oh, well, I think we're done with that topic. So let's get on to the second topic for tonight, and that is California Governor Gavin Newsom backpedaling on uh, his promise of reopening California. And
What?
it's not
I would have never
necessarily.
guessed.
What was it?
What? I would have never guessed.
Right, yeah. So unlike him. But yeah, it's not exactly he's like change. It's not as though he changed his mind about reopening. He still says that that's going to go forward, and he said, like, yeah, a lot of restrictions will be lifted. But the one thing that he's not going to give up on is his dictatorial power, in the form of in the form of the emergency powers granted to him. Uh, in the case of emergencies. Um, what is it? And yeah, this is a direct message to AMC. Yeah, I used to be an AMC A-list member. I say used to be because technically I still have my account. I just haven't reactivated it. And this is why I haven't reactivated it, is because I knew this was coming. Even when theaters opened up, and yeah, they were doing it reduced capacity or whatever. But and most of my friends, they are reactivated their accounts, and they have gone and watched movies in theaters. But this is why I didn't reactivate my account. It's because I knew this was coming. I saw this was coming. And this was the biggest piece. Yeah, like, yeah, he said that he was gonna lift more restrictions, But he's not giving up this one, the emergency powers, or he's not lifting the state of emergency. And if you don't understand what that means basically he could, like, because supposedly it's still an emergency, he still has carte blanche to just shut everything down again on a whim.
Yeah.
So AMC, this is why you have not earned my dollar back. All right, this is why you have not earned it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the guy is power mad. He is terrible. I think most definitely like the worst governor that we've ever had. We've had some pretty bad ones, but
Yeah,
like
and I
this
mean,
is
we're a state that voted for Governor Moonbeam twice.
God. I mean that I remember like the one thing I was like because I didn't know too much about like Jerry Brown like when he like his second term, but like when he was back on, like, my dad was like, this guy was shitty back in like the 70s. Like, why are people like wanting to vote this dumbass back in? And I was I was like, wait, he was already governor once, and like, yeah, he was terrible back in the 70s. It's like, good fucking god. And then you
Right.
like read up more about him. It's like, oh my god, how first of all, like, how did this guy get voted in the first fucking time? But
Yeah, I mean, how does a candidate with a link to Jim Jones get elected?
and not a loose link. Like, I mean,
Yeah, like,
they are pretty tight knit.
right. Hold on. Yeah, let me just share this article with y'all. Browser. Yeah, but yeah, Newsom, what was that? Yeah, I mean, of course, the Republicans aren't happy about, his kind of like his soft backpedal on, lifting restrictions. What was it?
I cannot wait for the recall election because I'm definitely voting for. I'm voting his ass out.
Yeah.
If it
Well, I think some people have said that the reason why, potentially one of the reasons why Newsom feels that he can do this is because the field of candidates isn't as strong. Because I mean, right now the Republicans, I forget how many Republican candidates there are, but there are a lot. Including Caitlyn Jenner, and then you have the former mayor of San Diego, Kevin Faulconer,
that's the guy that
John Cox.
For is him.
Yeah, he's kind of like my candidate too. Like, yeah, but here's a here, like, the justification that it gives is that, because we're still in a state of emergency, the disease is still in effect, is not taking the summer off. When it's words matter. I know Democrats or leftists, they don't think that it does, or it's like very specific. Only like the words that they find objectionable matter, but like all the other words doesn't mean anything. But when you say, emergency means something. There's an immediacy to it, and and I think like 15 months in, it's no longer an emergency. I think it's safe to say that 15 months is no longer emergency. It's just status quo. Yeah, in some ways I agree with them. The coronavirus isn't going to go anywhere. It's going to be what it's fine. It's part of our world now. It's become mundane. So it's a part of this life. It's if it doesn't go away, then it's just part of this life, and it's something that we're going to have to learn to live with. Okay. Now screw off. But yeah, it's like some modifications may need to be some modifications may need to be oh I think it was a typo, but I'll fill it in. Some modifications may need to be made in order on the basis of changing conditions. What does that fucking mean?
That's word
You
salad.
know, it's words out. It doesn't mean anything. You know, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, we didn't shut down. We didn't shut down for the flu. We didn't even shut down for fucking AIDS. All right. Are we still in a state of emergency for AIDS? Or no,
Yeah,
of course not. Because there's drugs and there's therapies. You know, they freaking tout out like this drug that says like if you take a test, it won't even show that you have AIDS. You know. So, what does that even mean? Like, oh, or like we're still in a state of emergency.
oh,
But
taking
beer
word.
burps.
There we go. I feel better. Whew.
Okay. But
But yeah, no, it's just it's a way for him to take power that he doesn't have.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if and again, here's me, complaining because I do put some of this on Trump too because he's the one that signed like the CARES Act and he was the one that shut the country down. So Trump did empower the governors to take power, and that's something that I will criticize him on. So don't everyone think that I'm some like I'm a
Yeah,
Trumpanzee or whatever.
like to me, it feels like it was like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because let's say he takes all the power. Oh, Trump is an authoritarian, blah blah blah. But then it's obviously he's doing like, okay, well, this is a state. Let the states take care of themselves.
Right.
And but it's like I said, no matter whatever decision he made was going to be the wrong one. And to me, his big failing when it came to this is that he didn't fire that little weasel, Dr. Fauci.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's like where he's not like because he doesn't Trump doesn't have the power to like kind of force the hands of governors and mayors and stuff like that
Right.
that that he doesn't have. But we can get rid of like little like power hungry weasels like Dr. Fauci, who
Yeah, and
has
yeah, it deeply embedded bureaucrats who are answerable to nobody.
and he now that everything's because there's I mean he's not going to get fired. I mean it's already been said by the Biden administration. It's like, oh no, we're not going to fire Fauci.
Right, but
Everything that's
yeah,
come out, like had this come out a year ago, this little bastard would have been gone.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, if you want to talk about like unaccountable, like Fauci and other bureaucrats like him are the most unaccountable because they're not voted in. They're appointed. And in the case of Fauci, he's been there since Reagan. You know,
Yeah,
you know,
hasn't seen a page since then, if ever.
right? Yeah, he hasn't. Yeah, he stopped like he doesn't have like a clinical practice. He doesn't. He's not. And it's like crazy that he like in a recent interview on I think it was on MSNBC, but like he took credit for creating the vaccine. Or it's like, oh, like it was my job to create the I'm sorry, I'm not doing my best Fauci right now, but he basically said like it was my
Like
job to create the vaccine.
anything awful.
What was
He's
that?
terrible. Fauci doesn't do jack shit. He wasn't the one
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
in the lab say creating the vaccine because he probably doesn't know
Hmm.
what the fuck he's doing. And he didn't appoint anybody that was like doing anything.
Right, exactly. And it was like the private sector is like unless the government, took a controlling stake in, Moderna or Pfizer or, Johnson and Johnson. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it was the private, it was a private sector. They, Fauci wasn't like, working hand in glove. He wasn't like, putting on like, that those crazy, biologic, suits that they actually wear to go and, study these viruses. Yeah, the hazmat suits. Like he's not slapping that on and going in and like, researching this thing himself.
Well, I mean, but he was definitely funding those things, like funding the virology labs over in China. But hey, that's that. But that we've been talking about that for a year. That like he knew that this thing came from a lab, and it's just like the fact that he's not only like knew about it, but then was involved is just
Right.
like
Well, like one of the emails, like he was personally thanked by, uh, what is it? He was personally thanked by one of the heads of, the group that was funding that lab for, putting, squashing the idea of that it was, man-made.
yeah.
He was personally thanked by like what is it? Econ something or other, or Ecos.
Some other organization. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
just like, what the fuck? And I just,
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's really disheartening. Because this girl I know, she put up this thing where it's like, oh, the Fauci emails are, a Rorschach test. You see what you want to see, and um, you know,
oh my god, the
yeah,
Rorschach test. God help me.
yeah. It's like, oh, you see what you want to see, and it's like, oh, like it's just like you're a dumb person.
You mean the
Uh,
truth?
yeah, it's just like, but they're like people are like so like heavily indoctrinated that that they won't allow themselves to see, uh, that they were wrong. That's what it is. Like, and and that's kind of like the magic, or the one of the benefits of being, someone, on the left or a Democrat. It's like you never have to admit that you're wrong. You just like, move along and say, all right, nothing to see here. You never have to apologize for, what you do, for, your bad takes, or your, lining up behind the wrong person. You never have to be you'll never be held accountable.
Fucking hell, dude. It's
Yeah.
just, I'm so tired of this bureaucratic, bloated government that we have. It's just there's so much. The people that are really running things are not accountable. They're not voted in, and it's insane. It to me, like, it's the idea. It's kabuki theater. I mean, what to me it's like, what's the point of voting somebody in, because they're not the one that's actually running things. And like when we do actually get a candidate that does kind of like match like what we want to have done for the country or for the state, nothing happens because they're not really running things. It's very disheartening.
Yeah. Um,
Or the fact that like we'll get our party in to start running things, but then it's like we'll have like
yeah,
a couple of
they're too much of pussies to actually do like to do anything. Like they say like, oh well, because for the longest time, like especially like neocons, that they're basically the Washington Generals. They say like, oh well, we can't use power, like the Democrats do, because then we're no better than them. It's like, yeah, but you get shit done. You fucking win.
I
You get a W.
I can count on one hand people from our party that actually have some backbone, that are and but they can't do it alone. I mean, it's like five people, and they have a backbone, but then the rest of us, the rest of our party has the spine composition of a sponge. It's like, wow, well, we put up a good fight, and but when we get back into power, we're really gonna do something. It's like, you had power, you didn't do jack shit with it. Like, why would we believe you now?
Yeah, I mean, what is it? When Trump got in the first time, and prior to that, they're saying like, oh, Obamacare is so bad. Obamacare, is unconstitutional. It's like, oh no, we'll have something ready, as soon as Obama gets out, as soon as we retake the House, then you know, repeal and replace, repeal and replace. They constantly were saying repeal and replace, repeal and replace. And then finally, Trump gets in, and then I was like, all right, repeal and replace time. It's like, oh, and then it's like, no, actually, what is it? We can't leave, millions of Americans who have now come to depend on Obamacare and just take it away from them. It's just like, God damn it, you sons of bitches.
People. Like, and then even like when they were about to kind of sort of start to do something, then you get like John McCain, another squish that just kind of, because he didn't like Trump, so he was kind of that one vote that we needed, and he just kind of went a whole different direction. And of course, like, the other Republicans had no plan. I'm like, fuck, dude, it's like, do your fucking homework. What the hell do we pay you for?
Yeah, seriously, it's. Yeah, I mean that's part. I mean that's why I'm a non-affiliated voter. I was like, motherfucker, if you're gonna pander to someone, pander to me.
Yeah.
Not just like not my ethnic group or my political group. Because like politically, I don't want to line up behind anybody.
No.
Republicans are fucking disappointment, and Democrats are fucking just evil. So there's no point. There's no point of saying that declaring a party, because I don't respect either party.
I'm behind people who have a goddamn backbone, who don't curl away when, ooh, the Democrats don't like me, or when the media is mean to them. It's like they stand up for themselves and they hold up to their convictions. If they can do that, I'm behind them. Okay, if you do the things that you were voted in to do, and I'm generous, because I understand sometimes there's things where you just can't get it done. If you can get 70% of the things that were on your agenda done, great. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it just, like I said, there I can count on my one hand the number of people in our party that actually have some fucking backbone.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs.
Completely evil and actually have backbone. Because and I'm easy. They have to love America, to not give into the woke media, to do things that actually better the country and better, and they stand up for their constituency, like the people that voted for them. They're not taking in billions of dollars from special interests. It's just like, come on. Yeah, if you can match up to that, that's someone I'm gonna vote for.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully there's someone like that, in during the recall. I mean, because again, right now, like the only one I'm really looking into is Kevin Faulconer, but he hasn't really been putting out statements or really making his candidacy known.
Yeah, well, and
Um,
that's the downside. And like I said, it's like, listen, our state is fucked. So it's do one thing, fix one problem that we have. And what Faulkner did was really fix the homeless problem in San Diego, because it was bad, and he fixed it. If you can
mhm.
do that here in the entire state, Oh man, that or at least like make it better. To like get it back to like what it was like 10 years ago. That's a win.
Hmm.
Fix
Yeah, and I
one.
mean, and I think, yeah, and I think the Republican Party here in California, they have to consolidate. Um, and they, because right now, because right
We
now,
have
Republicans, there's Caitlyn Jenner, Kevin Faulconer, John Cox, and I don't know if you're aware of, he's kind of like an influencer, Major Williams, who like I've been hearing some things that are worrisome. Um, but I think he might be running as a Republican. But what the Republican Party has to do in California is consolidate and put forward one candidate. Because right now, that, like the reason why Newsom is saying like, oh, like yeah, like oh, yeah, we're gonna open up everything except we're gonna keep the state of emergency in place. He's only doing that because he knows that there's no strong oppositional candidate to him.
That's why we need to weed out the shitty candidates, Bruce
Hmm.
Jenner, whatever like other squish is there.
Hmm.
Find the strong candidate, that's like
Yeah, I
and
mean, yeah, this is like a direct message to the Republican Party. I don't know if you're going to hear this, but of California. But yes, weed out the losers. Pick your quarterback and run with him. All right, because Gavin Newsom is doing this shit because he thinks that he can get away with it because he is not afraid of what the Republicans have to offer.
yep.
And national Republicans do not line up behind Caitlyn Jenner. If you fucking line up, if the national Republican Party, if you line up behind fucking Caitlyn Jenner, you will never have my vote ever again.
Nope. Ain't voting for Bruce Jenner. That's not gonna happen.
All right, because yeah, don't do that thing. Yeah, like I mean, we've talked about this. Don't do that thing where it's like, oh, someone moderately agrees with my opinion, so I'm gonna throw all my support behind. No, all right, no.
Stop.
Caitlyn Jenner already showed his true colors when he backpedaled on like the whole trans, women's sports thing.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise, motherfucker.
No, but Democrats, they're the real transphobes. Like, yeah, you've already lost the argument, like on that whole thing. If we vote for that guy,
Yeah. So get your shit together.
I can't call him Caitlyn. I'm sorry, I can't do it. He's Bruce Jenner.
I know. Okay, I mean, I already told you my reason why I'll call him Caitlyn because if he legally
But
changed his name, I will call because I too legally changed my name. I mean, not to from a female
I,
name, but
but you didn't like change your name to like Andrea or something like that. It's. I'm sorry. It's. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
okay, all right, fair enough, fair enough. You do you, boo, you do
It's
you.
like I feel like I lose the argument if I start giving in to his
Yeah, I know. It's
man.
like that's what. Yeah, left like you never give ground. You never give ground. Which is why in a weird way, I really enjoyed that debate or whatever that cat fight that happened between Blair White and Candace Owen that one time.
That was pretty fun, to be
Yeah,
honest.
because Candace wouldn't give ground and call Blair White she.
And good for her.
Yeah, and good for her. I enjoy both of them. I enjoy both of them. I really do. Um,
And Blair
but
White, an interesting character,
mhm.
among many things. But yeah, but it's not. It's he's not a she, and but it's weird because yeah, Blair White is probably more conservative than definitely any other transgender person or crazy person like that.
Right.
I give Candace a lot of credit because she is very bold and stands up for she doesn't like back down. She says the words that what's true, and if it's not true, she's not going to say it. and she doesn't care if someone's gonna get their feelings hurt.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like
Yeah, and
see
then
like
just
like someone,
purely like in a debate as a debate tactic, I really enjoyed it because it did throw Blair off. It
it
did
does,
send her. It did send her. It did. Sorry, it did send him into a tizzy. Um,
and
so
that's a good thing. That's what needs to happen. We need to have people kind of with like the backbone of Candace, who is another person that was a leftist at one point and changed
mm,
completely around. There's been a few people that have had like in real time have had like been knocked back and like had woken up from their craziness.
right.
Larry
I think
Elder
yeah,
turned Dave Rubin. Is
yeah.
the one like
That's my
let these
favorite.
people
That's my favorite
around.
real time red pilling.
He
You know.
and instead of doubling down, he's like, what the fuck? You can tell in his head he's like, fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I can't
I
see it.
still remember the moment because Dave, kind of like in autopilot, he just spurted out like, oh, systemic racism. And then immediately Larry Elder countered and challenged him on it. It's like, what's systemic racism? It's like point out the law. Point out the law that says that you as a white person can treat me like a second class citizen for being a black person.
Yeah.
And then like yeah, it woke him up. It woke up Dave Rubin.
And he's become even more conservative since.
Yeah, I mean, other than taking the dick in his ass, but
That's true.
but anyway, yeah. I mean, at this point, it's like I'm still glad, you know, um, everyone, what is it? Uh, a lot of people I talked to about like the recall who felt like that Newsom wasn't doing a good job. Like they're like, they're kind of the mentality of like, um, what if we get someone worse?
I don't think
But
that.
then yeah, but it's like, but then I always try to like, I always try to give hope. So I was like, well, what if this is our chance to get someone better? I mean, we shouldn't be living under the fear of pain, but at the hope of something better.
Bingo.
So to anyone who's like kind of like on the fence, or yeah, afraid of getting someone worse, it's like, can we get anyone worse,
We're
more
already,
worse
yeah,
than?
we're
I mean,
already.
I mean, technically, we already had it in freaking Governor Moonbeam. But you know, Gavin Newsom, he allowed for prisoners to receive uh, unemployment benefits while still in prison.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. It's like
he's allowed for crumbling infrastructure like the blackouts and the brownouts during the summer. That's all him. That's all his policies.
yeah,
Um, what else? I mean, the biggest kicker, his hypocrisy on the coronavirus, restrictions. Telling people that they couldn't gather with family members during Thanksgiving, but then he goes and fucking has like a $300 a plate dinner with fucking lobbyists in the
it's
medical
$1,000 plate
field.
dinner. It's
A
insanely
thousand
like,
dollar, yeah, $1,000 a plate dinner with big pharma lobbyists.
yep. All the bureaucrats that were behind the lockdowns, who clearly, obviously, they're not scared of the virus because they're inside maskless. All the things that they told us we can't do, but hey, they're right there. No problem. So,
Exactly. Are you saying
but
like? Are you saying yeah?
here's the thing: is like I don't care that they're there, maskless. That's fine, but it's rules. They're making rules that we have to follow. Under penalty of law. But they're fine, no problem.
Right. It's like the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is what I can't abide. And so you're saying like you're saying that you fear for something worse than what we've already lived through. Yeah, what we lived through is already bad.
Yeah, we're already fucked beyond belief, so it can't get
Yeah.
much worse.
Yeah, it can't get much more worse. So yeah, so like let's rally on the hope that we can get someone better.
Stack up, roll the dice. Let's get this guy out of office. And we'll take our chances.
Yeah, I mean,
What are we gonna get? Like another Arnold, maybe? Like who was not that great, but was a better option than what we had. Yeah, what was that? That was like almost 20 years ago now. Jesus.
Yeah, like 2000. It was like 03. Yeah, it was like Ray Davis, and even like the only other governor California's ever recalled, Ray Davis, like his only crime was implementing new taxes after he said that he wasn't going to implement new taxes. That was the big thing that he got recalled for.
Back then too.
What was it?
We had well, not as bad as we have now, but like the whole like energy crisis.
Yeah.
He finagled a whole bunch of stuff that fucked up like the all the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like so that it was the taxes and then that was the big thing where like people
right.
just had it.
Right. I mean, the only other governor to be recalled, was because of that. And so and what we lived through now, all the things that I just mentioned about what Gavin Newsom did, or allowed to happen under his tenure. You think how can it get more worse?
Yeah.
So yeah, like Robert said, sack up, and let's get this son of a bitch out of office.
Absolutely. Let's get on, Andy. Let's talk about the movie.
All right, yeah. We always try to end things on a good note.
And I'm gonna go pee. I'll be right back.
Okay, all right. Damn it, I was gonna pee. But yeah, while Robert's away, I'll read the synopsis for the movie tonight, for the movie review. And again, to remind you all, the movie is Rope, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring James Stewart, or Jimmy Stewart, John Dahl, Farley Granger, and Joan Chandler. Just before hosting a dinner party, Philip Morgan and Brandon Shaw strangle a mutual friend to death with a piece of rope, purely as a Nietzsche-inspired philosophical exercise, hiding the body in a chest upon which they then arrange a buffet dinner. The pair welcomes their guests, including the victim's oblivious fiancé and the college professor whose lectures inadvertently inspired the killing. This is a pretty messed up premise for a movie. But what is it? It's Alfred Hitchcock, so it's at the very least it'll be competently shot and executed. This is what was it? Whoops. And you're back.
I'm back.
Okay.
So, this was the first time you've seen this movie, right, Andy?
Yeah, this is the first time I watched this movie. You vamp for a little bit because I gotta go pee too.
Well, one thing the reason I chose this movie is I love Alfred Hitchcock, and there was a couple of his films that I was looking at, but I thought Rope would be an interesting one to look at because the cinematography for one sounds very interesting, and as college people moving after and today it's it's one stop. It's so revolutionary, and every time actually this movie that Hitchcock did back in like 19 like the late 40s called Rope that actually did it before that. So it's not Birdman wasn't original. Birdman was an inspiration cinematography wise based off of this movie. And so there's that, and also obviously I'm a huge Jimmy Stewart fan, and so this movie is I think one of his best performances. He is amazing in this movie.
Yeah, it's his performance is very. He has a very nuanced performance. I would
Yeah.
say. Um,
So I'm gonna give you a little bit of the floor, Andy, because you said you had a lot of ideas about this movie that you wanted to share, and I'll let you go first, and I'll see if you and I match up as far as like our thoughts.
well, I mean, it's not. It's like it's a more of a theory as opposed. I didn't expect to be going this soon. Um,
Well,
but
I'm very curious because you said you had some stuff that you wanted to wait until today, so I've been like
right.
very eagerly waiting to hear.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit of a tease. I'm gonna make you wait just a little bit longer as we talk about this movie. What is it? Kind of looking into this into the movie a little bit more. Um, what is it on Wikipedia? It just like I read like the plot that it gives, and it calls the two pair, Brandon Shaw and what's his face, Philip Morgan, the characters as aesthetics. So and particularly in the aesthetic movement, and the art movement, where they're more as opposed to the execution of like kind of like in a painting, as opposed to like the execution of the painting, they're more interested in the idea or or the theory of the painting as opposed to the painting itself, which I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Seeing as I too have an art background, and I think that uh, that's kind of like the aesthetic movement is, I think, what gave birth to like postmodernism. Because there's a lot of because there's a lot of postmodern artwork that's done. It's like the concept or the theory is more interesting than like the execution or the representation of said work. Because that's where you get like you know like geometric shapes, like hanging from a ceiling, and where it's like you just kind of don't understand anything, but then when the artist describes what the concept is, or what like the thing that they're trying to get across, that's more interesting than the work itself.
Okay. So like what you're seeing is like how these characters are kind of like burgeoning like in they're part of like the burgeoning postmodern movement and
Right. Yeah, because like the whole idea is like they're getting a like the whole thing like behind like the art of murder is like them getting away with it, and they know something that the viewer of the art doesn't know.
being able to like kind of dance because the whole night like they're kind of like well Brandon especially not necessarily Philip but like
Hmm.
Brandon is kind of manipulating the events like the party and everything around it like and specifically having people that are connected in some way like he's creating this like great art piece that he feels like well is gonna like yeah he's made this like great artwork this and he has the parents of the person he killed. He
Mm-hmm.
has his fiance, and
Mm-hmm.
then
And they're
they're
mutual friends.
yeah, mutual friends, and then they're all mutual friends, and then they have their headmaster from their prep school, who is also kind of like that. He's very quirky, kind of like the same, kind of like the very postmodern. At least when we first meet Jimmy Stewart's character Rupert, he's
Mm-hmm.
very he has very interesting ideas, whereas the
Yeah.
more because there's one person in that in the group, the father of the guy that was killed, who is he's classically trained and who has morals and he believes in something, and he's very uncomfortable with the conversation that Rupert starts, and like Brandon really kind of is like, yes, Rupert understands exactly, like, in my head, the former headmaster, he understands exactly what I'm trying to do here,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right, because in the synopsis that I read, like, it said like, oh, Rupert was the one that like somewhat inspired him or inspired Brandon and Philip to do this. Like their conversations back in school, where they're like, and they kind of like they even hashed it out in front of them, in front of the party guests, talking about like, oh, murder, can be an art, if done correctly, and and only a few, only a certain few, only a few like superior people should be allowed to practice, said art. Um,
yeah,
and
and it's really interesting. I'm this movie, like, because I've seen, like I said, I was telling everyone, I've seen this probably about like a half dozen times, and every
mhm.
time I watch it, like, it gets more and more interesting.
Mm.
Um, and I think, like, the idea that you're bringing up, which is kind of like what a lot of the synopsis and like a lot of websites talk about, is that there's this kind of, like you said, this postmodern art thing going on that Brandon and Philip are doing. Mainly Brandon, because Philip to me feels like he's kind of just got dragged into it. It's
Right. Yeah. I mean, of the personalities, Brandon seems like kind of like the more assertive type of personality, where and he talked Philip into doing this,
yeah,
as opposed to like him like bringing this up and Philip being like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, let's totally do this.
right. Because he
Um.
seems very sheepish and cowardly,
Mhm.
whereas Brandon is very brazen, and he is not only like not only is he like satisfied with what happened and like feels like
Right.
morally.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. He's very self-satisfied with himself, and I'm sure like the entire time he had a raging boner.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. And no, but the thing is, like, he can't just do that. It's more of like, we have to make this perfect, and like he's manipulating the entire party to
mhm.
like, and it's like in trying to like dance around the whole thing, and it's kind of like showing everything without showing anything.
Right. Well, like it's the idea of hiding something in plain sight. So it's like, having the body like right there in the midst of everybody, and and serving, and kind of like serving the sacrificial meal like on top of the chest where the body rests, and using the murder weapon as a innocuous implement to tie some books together. Um,
Yeah,
it's and having like that, kind of morbid conversation about like, oh, I think, only like superior people should be allowed to murder, and and they should only murder inferior people, and kind of having like, that, superior attitude about things.
yeah. Well, and it's funny because Brandon feels like he's the superior intellect in the entire group,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Rupert outsmarts him. Who he's the true intellectual, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of think of, I don't know if you ever watched the anime Death Note,
No, I haven't.
uh, and I highly recommend you do. It's
Okay.
really really good. You're gonna love it.
Okay.
But there's two characters in there. There's the main character, Light, who he's given the death note, like where you write people's names in and they die. And
Mhm.
he's kind of he does where he's killing a bunch of criminals. He's writing down a bunch of criminals' names for killing them.
Mhm.
And then they all die mysteriously for various reasons. And the investigation into Light, they don't know who it is, but the character that is investigating him is a character named L. And L is the true superior intellect in the story,
Mhm.
and he's able to deduct who is who Light is pretty much, and figure out like what's going on. And it's that's kind of like the same thing I see here. It's just like dueling intellects. Brendan is a very smart kid, um, but he becomes too brazen, and Rupert, who is the one who pretty much kind of like he's the inspiration
Mhm.
and inspired their intellect, but he's still better than them.
Right. Well, it's like
And
it's like this party was almost like um also kind of a an attempt to to bash Rupert too, saying like, oh, like I have the student has now become the master.
mm-hmm.
But
Because
it accrues in it.
The whole movie, there's nothing. It's just a party, and like, ha, I showed you guys.
Right, exactly. Like, and I think like the element of being caught had to be there, and he like I think it was like it was Brandon's final test to see like if he had truly surpassed the teacher. So so he had to have the teacher there to pit his intellect against.
Yeah, and that's the great
But
tension of the movie because even when we were watching the 2/3 of it together
mhm.
this weekend, and like even now after all the times I've watched it, I'm still like on the edge of my seat, like, is he gonna make it? Is Brandon gonna make it? And it's just watching the interaction between like Rupert and the Philip and Brandon is really fascinating.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Because as was it there was like that story that or that anecdote that they were calling out of them like back in the day hanging out at the Brandon's family farm and and Philip strangling chickens which after strangling their friend kind of emotionally compromises Philip and he kind of snaps at Brandon saying like, oh, it's not true, I never choked anything, and kind of not
Yeah.
allowing a little bit to slip.
Do you
um,
think that maybe like Brandon convinced Philip to join him because, like you said, wanting that element of potential to get caught? Do you think that's why he chose Philip because he knew that he was kind of a little bit of a loose
he
cannon?
was the he was the weak link.
Because I think
um,
if it was just Brandon alone that did it,
mhm.
I think he might have gotten away with it.
Probably, yeah. Because like you said, Philip seems more of like the sheepish type. He seems a little bit. I mean, well, because he's an artist too. Because he played the piano and he was like known for his, and he was about to do like a show or whatever. Um, so um, yeah, so he was like he's more sensitive.
Yeah,
And it's slightly more easily manipulated. So that could have been an element. It's like, oh, it'd be too easy for me if I did it by myself. But if I had Philip with me, then I know Philip is the weak link, and so like he could he'll actually gum up the works for me a little bit.
yeah, because I kind of felt that a little bit, like with I think because if it wasn't for Philip, Brandon probably would have gotten away with it.
Mm.
I don't think Rupert would have figured it out, like
Well, I
because
think Rupert.
like
I
there was
think
like
Rupert would have felt something was off, but I don't think he would have tied it to murder.
Right, because the Rupert spent more time with Philip and figured out more from like him than he
Hmm.
did from Brandon.
Exactly. Exactly.
What a great
Exactly. But
movie! This
yeah,
is it's
this is a
so it's
really good
such
movie.
a
It's
I it's a very close second to like it's a because Psycho is still my favorite Hitchcock film.
hmm
This is a close second.
I see. Yeah, this is a really good movie. Like even yeah, like Robert was saying, how like every time he watches it, he still kind of hope, he kind of does that thing where it's like he wishes something else happens in the movie, knowing that it's not, that there's only one outcome, but just like still like hoping that like still hoping that Rupert figures it out earlier, or that Brandon gets away with it, or what have you. And even in my viewing, like when I came over and watched like the last 2/3 or so, I too kind of felt that same way, where it's like, oh wow, it's like, oh, like, are they gonna get away with it? Oh, is Rupert gonna figure it out?
Yeah,
And still having that tension within me. Um,
that and the final showdown where the party leaves and Rupert comes back and confronts Brandon and Philip is one of the most powerful scenes I've ever watched in a movie.
all right. Although now, well, just kind of backing it up just a little bit to your question of whether if it weren't for Philip, then Brandon would have got away with it. There was that scene where just as they were leaving, Jimmy Stewart's character is given a hat, and he puts it on, but it's much too small for him. Which that's when like his suspicions are almost confirmed. When he looks inside the hat and he sees the initial, for the victim, David Kentley. It's like, is it, DK in it? And I think at that moment, that's when Rupert's suspicions are almost confirmed. But I'm wondering if Philip wasn't there, would that hat scene still have happened? And would his suspicions still been pricked up uh, at seeing the hat?
I think the hat is like what like because I think had it been, let's say Philip's not there, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, like it's like everything's it's a little peculiar, like and I don't know what Brennan's up to, but that's a little weird. And then even if he saw the hat, I was like, okay, like I think he still would have gone on his way and maybe not have maybe he would have eventually put two and two together, but then by that time Brennan's long gone. He's way out of the way.
Mm.
Whereas Philip is really the one that gave a lot of the clues away.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to that scene, like where everyone's leaving and the wrong hat is given to Rupert, he's like that solidified everything for him.
Mm. Okay. I forget. Was there? Does Brandon ever admit that David was in the apartment, or they ever met up?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
But it's just like the fact that I don't think he never admits to the fact that he was in the apartment or like that he had talked to him,
Mm-hmm.
but all the events, like how Brendan manipulated the situation, it kind of became obvious that David had been around.
Okay.
But no, it was never explicitly stated that like David like eventually confessed. that like David had been there.
Okay. Or like yeah, make cause like the thing that a lot of people do as a tactic is like they admit one thing to kind of like throw people up. I mean, it's kind of a tactic that I've seen a lot. Playing the social deductive game Mafia.
Yeah.
Where like if the person is guilty, but then it's like and someone will say like, oh well, I kind of heard like this weird rustling, when all of our eyes were shut, and it was like in your direction, and people were like, oh well, I did, but I was just kind of adjusting my seat. So kind of admit to one thing to hide something else.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I was like, yeah, so wondering like maybe Brandon had admitted to like, oh well, yeah, I spoke to David prior, or like, oh, he did stop by the apartment earlier, but he took off again.
No, yeah, like no, he played dumb. Like it's like yeah, whereas because the thing is, the person we from based off the movie, and it was
Mm-hmm.
never explicitly stated, but based off the clues,
Mm-hmm.
one of them had uh, phoned David at the tennis club and said like
Right.
that they were like to try to get to lure him there, and that this is
That's
after
right.
that David phoned that he was gonna meet like everyone there at the party because
Mm-hmm.
he had been invited. So it wouldn't have been weird, like so he had already said that stuff. So someone was watching him, and then they whether like one of them went to go meet him at the club and like brought them over to the apartment early to like have a drink, and that's where they killed him.
Mm. Okay. Right, because
Head.
yeah, because someone at the club, like an attendant or something, said like, oh yeah, he received a call, but didn't say who it was.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So there's like a lot of like little like subtle things of like where you see like how they like got him to the apartment to kill him.
mm-hmm.
But it's just man, it's a great cat and mouse game the entire night in the entire
Right.
movie. I'm just like
Mm.
it's it's one of them. I think it's one of Hitchcock's greatest films. He does thrillers so well. This is this was one of his greatest thrillers.
Mm. I'm inclined to agree.
Um, but yeah, no, this is that final scene that Rupert has with Philip and Brandon is so powerful. I mean, this is really because the other actors I don't really know too much about, but Jimmy
Right.
Stewart kills it. I mean, he
Yeah, that was a powerful monologue there. We was talking about like, um, after he sees, David's body and like, finally confirms that, that they did kill him, and he gives that powerful speech about, like, who are you to say who's inferior, and then but then also he kind of he kind of rebukes himself, saying like, I can't believe I ever held like such ideas, that rot this evening. And
yeah,
so
like
and
like
it
and everything I talked about was just theory, but like seeing my words become like reality disgusts me.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's yeah, and Jimmy Stewart, yeah, it's such an amazing actor.
And I don't know if it was something that was like specially done like for the movie, but man, his eyes were so piercing.
Yeah, I remember noting that when we watched it together, there was like this one shot of him, and just like his eyes were like the bluest I've ever seen him.
I felt like he was like looking through our souls.
Uh, yeah, or I mean, yeah, it's like it felt like yeah, he was definitely like able to like breach that fourth wall and like looking directly at the viewer, and yeah, it was quite striking.
Um,
Quite striking.
I don't really have anything else to say about the movie.
All right. Well,
I
all
can't
right then. Perfect.
I can't
Now, okay.
cannot wait to watch it again. I'll just say that. I've seen it like 10 times. I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. Okay. Since you have nothing else to say, then I guess it's time for me to share my theory, or an observation that I've made, which kind of has kind of come into becoming a theory, um, and that is that I think that the that rope, it could be interpreted as an allegory. Allegory is the right word. Okay, let's just go with allegory. But an allegory for the closeted homosexual.
You had to explain more.
Okay. Well, just because just like the whole premise. I know the whole premise of the movie is like killing and whether superior humans, da 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 da. But if you put all of that aside, I think it could be this movie could also be interpreted as an allegory for the closeted homosexual. I mean, just take the two main characters, Brandon Shaw and Morgan. Philip is more like the sensitive type, so he can be seen as kind of like the more feminine one, and Brandon is the dominant masculine type in the relationship. And they're two like younger men, living in a swanky Manhattan apartment with sweeping views of the city, um, you know and like the whole night they're trying to keep a secret, and they have like and they have like a parental figure as in the character of David's father, kind of like in the place for their own parents.
Is it ever explicitly stated that they live together?
It's not expressly said, but at the end, when Rupert comes back and like kind of tries to hold them up, he's like, oh, like he says that line like, oh, I'm sure you have a lot of packing to do, and then Brandon says, oh, we're already packed up, which would imply that that both he and Philip live in the same apartment.
Because I'm trying to guess their age too, because obviously they're probably like right out of college, so like they're probably like what, like 22 at
Let's say at the oldest they're in their mid 20s. So 24 through 26.
I can't say that I see it.
And then they also talk about going on a vacation after all of this is over.
Well, I could see. Okay, so here when they said that,
Hmm.
I see that as more of like them splitting ways and kind of just getting out of town.
No,
So like,
Brandon said specifically, we'll go on a trip together.
see, I that's not what I saw. See, what I saw was, so Philip is already going to like a cabin to like out in like the middle of nowhere in Connecticut to
Hmm.
practice piano, whereas I don't think that that's exactly where Brandon was gonna go. I think it was more of them like just getting out of town and splitting ways, to let the heat die off of David's
No, I mean,
disappearance.
again, I'm coming to this like with all of like the actual movie plot stuff like taken out, and seeing this in a different way. So like it doesn't matter like that they killed someone or whatever, but if you just take like the really like the basic things about them, like they're two like eligible guys, but they live in the same apartment. and then and take out the fact that they just killed someone, but they're trying to keep a secret.
Okay.
And one is kind of like kind of like the soft, effeminate type, and the other one is a more like assertive, like so he's like Brandon's the bull, and and Philip's the bitch.
Okay.
Yeah. And then and like they talk about going on a trip together.
I guess if I gut the entire story out, like I guess I agree with you. I see it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, this is
You're like the evil Bert and Ernie then.
yeah, they're the evil Bert and Ernie. But again, like, right? Does Philip even sound like Ernie? So that's not what I said, Bert. That's not what I said, Brandon.
Stop leaving cookies in the bed, Bert.
I know.
Sorry, Bert.
Sorry, Bert. Thanks. I hate you. I don't like it when you get angry, Bert. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. It's like, I'm not. This theory is based on like kind of the things around them, not necessarily what happened in the movie, but just kind of like me picking up on like these weird like these interesting things that I saw.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I do. I don't think.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying this is actually what the movie is about, or like this is like the secret meaning. But this is just something that I like. That's why I said like it could be that this movie can be interpreted as a secret allegory for the closeted homosexual.
Yeah. It's funny. You doing this to this movie, it kind of reminds me of like kind of it's a biblical interpretation process that's wrong, by the way, where you're trying to find a hidden meaning of something that's like not really there, but like it's there, but it's not there.
Yeah.
The allegorical method.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, and if you got the entire story, yeah.
Yes. And that's really, I know, maybe I built it up more than it deserved, but
I see what you're saying, and it's not completely unfounded. So I will entertain the theory, and I will, when I watch the movie again, which is probably going to be pretty soon. Maybe we'll watch it together, and then we'll talk about it. And
okay. Yeah, I mean that's all. That's all I ask. I'm not saying that you have to accept like this theory. Just because I said I came up with it or whatever.
And I give you the benefit of the doubt. I like to entertain your theories, and
right, because a lot of times I'm proven right.
What we'll do is we'll rewatch the movie, the whole movie together, and then I'm gonna have you. We'll do pauses, and we'll hey, here's the scene I'm talking about right here, and then we'll figure it out, and maybe
Oh yeah, I mean again, yeah. Again, I'm taking the context out of it, but like even the murder could be taken again if you take it out of the murder box. It could be it could be a metaphor for like the secret rendezvous. Because like it's like they got David alone, with no witnesses, nobody knows where he is, and then Philip and Brandon they chase out their housekeeper.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, taking out of the context of a murder, it could be it could be seen as a secret rendezvous between lovers.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's all that's all I ask for. It's just for you to at least entertain the notion.
Okay.
Right. I'm not saying that I'm like this is what it is. This is just an interesting thing that kind of caught my attention, and I was exploring it a little bit more in my mind, and yeah.
I like that you're taking this abstract view of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, it's like kind of like it's kind of the art background that I have, but I was always in school I was really good at abstraction.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I said, I will entertain.
All right, yeah, that's and I again kind of like maybe a takeaway. It's like that's all the whole like left right divide. Um, like the instant like shutting down of of right wing or right leaning ideas. Like all we're asking is that you take a moment and entertain. We're not saying you have to. We're not saying that you have to buy the idea wholesale, but we want you to at least like kick it around in your mind a little bit, and really give it really give it some weight before or if you decide to reject it.
Exactly. But did you like the movie, Andy?
Oh yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah, because the movies I chose you had never seen before, so
No,
I'm glad you like both of them.
indeed. All right, let's yeah. I think that'll do it for the review. So let's give our rating and then we'll call it a night.
This is it's gonna be like I'm just gonna give it 5 stars. I have one knock on the movie is
Hmm.
the final scene. After Rupert's speech, there should have just been complete like silence as far as like no more dialogue.
Ah, yeah.
And there's one moment where Philip does
He breaks the silence. Yeah.
breaks the silence. I'm like, fuck, dude, just shut up. It's like you ruined the moment. But it really is. This is a great movie. It inspired movie. As far as cinematography wise, it inspired Birdman. I think 1917 was also a continuous shot, from what I heard.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Or it's
So
like the
I,
illusion of one shot, with cleverly placed cuts and whatnot.
exactly, and so it those movies, owe Rope a lot. That
Hmm.
Hitchcock did it before them. The story itself is fantastic. Uh, Even now, after watching it so many times, I'm still on the edge of my seat. Like it's gonna end differently this time. I know it, and it doesn't. But you see, it's so good. Um, and I cannot, like I said, Psycho is still my favorite Hitchcock movie, but this one is like right, like nipping at its heels. It's so good.
Mm, okay.
It's definitely my number two Hitchcock film.
Okay. Um, I think I'm gonna come in just under you and give it a 4.5. Um, because again, mine is my knocks are mostly technical, and yeah, I mean at the time I'm sure they were very clever. They were very clever cuts, but I mean like the
They're
whole
obvious.
like
I'll give
yeah,
it.
they're obvious. So it's like they like zoom into the person's back and then like zoom back out or pan out, and it's like that's obviously a place for a cut. So I'm gonna knock it for that, and I'm gonna agree with you in that I wish the last scene like it was just silence. Um, it would have been much more powerful. Them just kind of like understanding what's going on and like nothing else has to be said. It's like they're gonna go away for the rest of their life, and Rupert doesn't have to lecture them any more than than that magnificent monologue that he gave.
Dude,
Um,
so good.
yeah. So yeah, for those things, I'm gonna knock it and bust it down to 4.5.
I think that's to be honest, like I think that's the best dialogue that Jimmy Stewart has had.
Yeah, I think
As far as the monologue goes.
right. Yeah, I dare say it's even better than Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
I was just gonna say that. Like, I even think it's better than that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just because, like, his character Rupert, all the, for all his, postmodern, like, liberal ideas, that
Mm-hmm.
he's been espousing for years, obviously,
Right.
and
Yeah.
now he is seeing the realization of it coming to fruition. He's horrified by it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
he's
and you
like,
really feel it. Like what have I wrought? What have my ideas, you know, what have my ideas brought, brought into reality?
right,
And just see and seeing it and realizing it, it's like it's more than he could, and then it's more than he can stand.
and you feel that.
Yeah, you really feel it. It's delivered very powerfully, and I can't and it's and you can't overstate how awesome how wonderful a delivery that Jimmy Stewart gives. You just can't. It's like
So good.
you can't be overselling it. All right, folks. Yeah, that'll do it. That's our review for Rope. Robert gives it a 5. I give it a 4.5. Definitely a worthwhile watch. Go watch it now. Whatever you're doing, stop it right now. I mean, I guess you could pull away from this episode. I think this is the only time I'll allow it. All right, yeah, I'll allow it.
An
You
hour
could
and a half.
stop.
It's an hour and a
Yeah,
half.
you could stop it right now. It's a relatively short film, but you'll be gripped. You'll be invested right away. I promise you that.
Bingo. Yep.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Robert always has a good time.
Always.
Yeah, don't forget to check out the library of other content we have, the Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you again. And come back next week and we'll do it all over again.
Oh, we got a good movie for next week.
Oh, yeah.